All right, we will call this meeting of the Lower County Township Board of Commissioners workshop on June 22nd, 2026 at 6 p.m. to order. If you'll all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we will start the meeting with our first report, the audit report of 2025. Dale, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Give me 1 second. Okay.
Renee, is the controller on your side that he should point it at?
Sorry.
Okay, you got it.
They just need to be smarter than the controller. Right. So this is the summary of the December 31st, 2025 financial statement audit. So the first slide here shows some key financial statement items from the financial statements. They're broken down between the governmental activities and the business type activities. So for 2025, we had cash of $18,091,412 under governmental activities. We had investments of $12,030,461, receivables of $1,204,447, capital assets net of accumulated depreciation of $101,522,581. We had payables of $1,203,597. Unearned revenue of $2,689,533, compensated absence liability of $465,101, and long-term debt of $21,302,252. There's a 2024 column for comparison purposes, so you can see what the results were in the prior year. The business type activities had cash of $372,617, investments of $8,398,190. Receivables of $3,866,767, capital assets net of accumulated depreciation of $17,903,901, payables of $1,437,466, compensated absences of $46,740. Again, the 2024 numbers for comparison. The next slide shows the net position for the current year, 2025, and the past 5 years, back to 2020. Broken down again between governmental activities and business type activities. So for the governmental activities, you can see that in 2020, our net position was $86,025,620. That has grown to $106,281,158 over the last 5 years. The business type activities, we're at $22,796,461 in 2020, and they are now up to $29,057,269. The next slide shows our changes in net position for the year and the year before for comparative purposes. For governmental activities, we had total revenues of $21,795,764, offset by expenses of $16,787,994. Gave us a positive change before transfers and other items of $5,007,770, and there were no transfers or other items, so that is our change in net position for the year. For the business type activities, we had revenues of $11,373,624, offset by expenses of $10,351,496. Net change before transfers and other items of $1,022,128, and that again is the change in net position for the year, as there were no transfers or other items. The next slide shows the general fund, budget versus actual. So the general fund being the township's main operating fund. The final budgeted revenues were $13,165,800. They came in at $14,869,234, giving us a positive budget variance for the year of $1,703,434. Total expenditures were budgeted at $13,126,825. The actual was $12,438,769. Again, a positive budget variance for the year of $688,056. Our other financing sources and uses, we budgeted for other financing uses of $38,975. The actual was $530,748 for a negative budget variance of $491,773. That gave us an overall positive budget variance for the year of $1,899,717. The next slide shows the governmental fund balances, the breakdown between the 5 categories of fund balance: non-spendable of $24,350, restricted of $4,474,614, committed of $22,611, assigned of $17,492,239, and unassigned of $4,526,192. The next slide is just required communications with the commissioners. Just required to tell you that we plan to perform our audit to obtain reasonable rather than absolute assurance about whether the financial statements are free of material misstatement. The audit was conducted in accordance with U.S. generally accepted auditing standards, and we had an unmodified clean opinion. There were no significant accounting policies lacking authoritative guidance, and in the current year, we adopted GASB 102, which was related to concentrations and constraints. That GASB was a disclosure only, and it did not have a significant effect on the township's financial statements. Our significant estimates for the audit were the fair value of level 2 investments and the lease receivable and the related deferral. There were no difficulties or disagreements with management, and our audit adjustments were posted by management. The last slide here shows our upcoming guidance. So for December 31st, 2026, we have 2 new standards have to be implemented: GASB 103, which is financial reporting model improvements. This will make significant changes to the proprietary fund financial statements as well as the MD&A. GASB 104, disclosure of certain capital assets, really only affects assets that are being held for sale, so I don't expect that to have a significant effect on the township. Then for the following year, we have a new standard GASB 105 for subsequent events, and all that's going to do is change the time frame of what is considered the subsequent event period. That's the end of my presentation. If there are any questions, I'm happy to entertain.
Anyone have any questions? Anything that stood out to you in the report? Anything that you thought was notable or unexpected?
No, not the current year.
Great.
It's kind of like ongoing debt, open space, which is not a bad thing, but it's really the significant things that are going on.
Okay. Actually, I'll come to you, Julie, in a moment.
Maybe this is a question more for our team, but when I was looking through it, it looks like we didn't make as much money on solid waste last year as we did the year before. Anything driving that stood out?
I would have to pull the specifics, but always with our new kind of solid waste contract, there was a potential there where those adjustments come back with our rate plus the increase in garbage. We should have or have been at that number. I'll say if Anne Marie has it, of that collection and its variance, but
yeah, it'll be on there on Cassell
all right.
for 26 or 25.
For 25.
Thanks. Sorry.
She'll pull it real quick.
Thanks.
It's
Okay. If you want, I can confirm in the morning before.
Yeah, so in 25, we had a budget of 5.1 for revenue, and in 2025, we had 5.2. Obviously, I'm just looking at solid waste regular charges. We also have extra strength. There's any certs, they kind of his 5.3 is going to have a little bit more services in it, but our regular charges for 2025 was 5.1, and then 2026, we have 5.4. So when you look at 2024, if you're his comparison,
The 2024 solid waste amount was $4,358,718. So it was a significant increase in 2025.
And you will continue to see those increases as the solid waste contract requires almost 5% for each year that we're in that. So there's a variation each year of that component. There was some history, garbage, and that contract was pretty stable for about 15 years. When that transitioned, there was one rate increase in my time here before the new contract. The new contract then started. We made that adjustment, and then each year the board would need to consider an increase for that. So you are going to see that slight variation. You'll also see a little bit later in Ms. Dobson's kind of report when we review it on the finance side, that we need to be mindful of that rate, knowing that as our cash flows come in on those quarterly billings, we need to make sure we have enough available monies in there to accommodate that service for trash as it revolves during the quarter. But definitely something to take note of, as it's going to continue to increase as far as we can expect. We also know that we have various costs at the yard waste center and that composting operation, which residents enjoy without additional charge at this point. And those costs are significant, and we should account as well for capital costs of equipment and equipment replacement, which we haven't been doing, as we've been trying to keep this garbage rate low and not affect the residents as much as possible. But you will continue to see that variation in there, if that makes sense and addresses the question.
With regards to the solid waste, too, it's important to note that your spread is shrinking.
Okay.
So in 2024, your revenues over expenses was over 200,000. In 2025, it's only about like 7,000 or 8,000. So it's.
I think that was what I was looking at. Yeah, okay.
Sorry to
That's okay,
confuse things
but-
worse.
And then just, and maybe Ms. Dobson has it later, but I would be interested on the Parks and Recreation, at least the way I'm reading it, it looks like there's no line for revenue from Parks and Recreation and only expenses, I don't know if I'm reading it correctly. I think we have some revenue from Parks and Rec, but obviously there are a lot of expenses, but I'm not sure if we have that data on, how much are we bringing in from various activities versus, how much are we spending?
We do have that in the budget. It's broken down line by line for those components. And I would note, would have to look at it in the report. It could be a potential, charge for service, and grouped in with other things we see charges for service for, like, building permits or
Okay.
things of that nature.
Okay.
So they're not, I would think they're not specific, but I'll defer to the finance side. But it is in the budget, and we do predict revenues throughout the year.
Okay.
The culture and recreation specific expenses were $2,852,600. They were offset by $550,157 of charges for services.
Okay, thanks.
Great. Additional comments from the public? Julie?
you're good, I think I'm good. I think so.
Julie McDonald, Fresh Meadow Drive. I just wanted to ask just a very general question. You're comparing government and business transactions, and I'm wondering if somewhere there's a definition or there's something online that we can refer to that will tell us which is which.
A proprietary fund is typically something that is covered by fees and charges of the user.
I'm sorry,
So-
fees and what?
Fees and charges to the user. So like sewer, water, garbage, those things that you pay the township to provide for you.
Okay,
Other things that you don't have control over, like taxes that you have to pay to them regardless of what service you get from them, those things are called governmental funds,
Okay.
right?
Alrighty.
Enterprise funds, which are the ones that are like a business, the ones that are based on charges and for services, those report differently than the governmental funds.
All righty.
So, yeah.
All righty, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So we would have a sewer and trash fund that would fall under those business type activities.
Right. Sewer, water, trash, parking, those are the ones that I see the most. Yep.
All right, any other comments or questions? All right, hearing none, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next item on the agenda, an update on the sewage facility planning module, Shantz Farmhouse, 3455 Brookside Road. Bruce?
I'll take that one. Little background for the board. I'm sure Doug will be able to help me as well on the construction side. So on this campus near the community center, right by the bend in the roadway on Brookside, there is the historic-esque Shantz house over there, as well as the red barn that everyone's familiar with. That is owned by the township. It is one of our rental establishments that we have, so it is occupied. As part of that, since it is a older housing unit, it actually has on-lot sewer provided by a septic tank. That septic tank has reached its useful lifespan and is now having malfunctions, which we need to address as the owner of that location. The positive is there is sewer on this campus to the community center building, and that component where the sewer line runs is to the library side of the building, which is between the building and Brookside Road. So instead of looking to do another on-lot septic system, which of course is prone to malfunctioning, it's our recommendation as a staff to move to a position of installing a sanitary sewer lateral from the house to the manhole that's existing on the campus property. To do this, it's necessary that we use a grinder pump as we are going against grade. So regular sewer gravity, we can't hit that line. You'll see in the kind of schematic I just passed out to the board, the bright green is the house. The proposal is to run the green highlighted line. That is the grinder pump line, about 230 feet of 1.25 inch high pressure line with a grinder pump to the orange line, which as you see on your schematic is the main sewer line that feeds into the campus and the community center building. So the reason for the sewage facility planning module is when you connect sewer to this dwelling unit, we must go through a DEP process to make sure sewer is available. We're doing things the appropriate way. We've secured the allocation from the Lehigh County Authority that we must have for the daily flows. Public Works has already identified a CoStarz contractor to do that install work. To make sure that that is hooked up. Because we are experiencing those components of a significant malfunction at this time, it's moved to the top of our project list. We're looking here in July to try to mobilize that contractor. The paperwork in this planning module, because it's an emergency, we're going to submit that at the same time, knowing that we don't want to delay and have any potential sewer exposures out into the environment. So that's the background a little bit on the need for the planning module, the need for the project, and it would take a board action for us to move that planning module through to the DEP. So our expected time frame would be that second meeting in July to keep things kind of flowing. So unless there's questions.
What's the expected cost?
We were around 38,000.
Yeah.
We got several. We obtained several quotes from different vendors. That was the cheapest component on that.
So is it correct to say, so that's 229 feet?
Approximate.
Approximately, yeah.
Yeah. And we're working to coordinate with the renter on the day that that's going to happen, potentially making sure we try to impact them as least as possible. Where you see that line coming out in the diagram that I provided the board, it's to the northern end of the house. That component is where the original tank and leach field is as well. So I'm going to have coordination to shut that off, do the demo, bore the low pressure or the high pressure line, and then reconnect everything. So a little bit of logistics, Public Works handling that side of it. Doug can speak more of, timing of the project, like how many days it would take, et cetera.
Anticipation is maybe 2 days. The gentleman in the house will be out of service for maybe a couple hours, but the coordination, laying everything, the pipe and everything should be a fairly simple task. The short time I've been here, it's failed 3 times already. So it's definitely a potential. It could be pretty messy. So it definitely needs done.
And is that on a well, or is that on public water as well?
I think that one, that's actually on a well in that area. So.
And then does the trail get disturbed at all, or do they miss under that?
They'll miss that. They'll go one little section underneath the asphalt. But that's kind of an area that needs repair anyway, so.
Okay, got it. That works.
It'll be fine.
Great. Any other questions from anyone? All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda, a review of the pedestrian crossing sign on Spring Creek Road at Heritage Drive.
Thank you. I'll take this one as well. So in the area of Spring Creek Road by Creamery Park and Heritage Drive, there is and was a crosswalk installed across Spring Creek Road to provide that access to that area. Upon Public Works review and some feedback as well that we've heard from residents, there needs to be some additional signage for that crosswalk, including signage at the crosswalk as well as pre-warning signs for that area. The process for this is that the township has to request a PennDOT the ability to put those signs in as per the plan. The township traffic engineer did provide a sketch of the location and the official required signage with the appropriate designations. The component here is, and I always like to make sure the board knows and is aware, when we do things on state roadways, the township then accepts the responsibility to replace any of that signage, no matter what it is on there. So I always want to make sure I get an authorization from the board so everybody knows that we would be proceeding and have that obligation until such time as we requested it be extinguished, or in the future, maybe it never is removed. So in speaking with legal as well, we thought it was a good idea to have a consideration on an agenda where you authorize me to engage that component, just so it's in the minutes as well. I have a draft letter. It's to PennDOT requesting the installation of those signages and our obligation to purchase, erect, and maintain that. So that's kind of where we are on it.
Is there any reason why PennDOT couldn't or wouldn't do this work?
So PennDOT doesn't take obligations to their roadway for the most part. So when you request a sign like, school bus stop ahead, hidden driveway, all of those things, PennDOT, through their ability, has placed that back to local municipalities. This includes those things like, traffic signal maintenance, all of the signage for traffic signals. So yes, that's why, unfortunately, they're not the ones doing the project.
And with this being on a busier road, will these just be like the, plain signs, or will any of them have any, lights or anything like that?
No lights. They're the standard, fluorescent yellow
Pedestrian cross.
Yeah.
With the arrows. There's 6 signs, advanced warning signs, a couple arrows. The sign's already ordered.
Is there a sidewalk from east, like from that crosswalk to the Creamery entrance?
So there's a sidewalk on Heritage Drive that opens to there, and then when you come south across the road on the Creamery Park side, there is sidewalk pathway to get you to Creamery. There's no sidewalk there's a partial sidewalk moving from Creamery on the southeast towards 100. On the north component at Heritage Drive moving east, there is no sidewalk. So there's nothing that would take you to 100 on either one of those. You want to pull that up? Sorry. Renee will throw up a quick drawing.
So, I mean, that whole area there is kind of a complex intersection, to say the least, or intersections. Has there been any discussion on any of that in recent time? I mean, I'll take the focus on safety, but even just drivability, the configuration of it. You have the park entrance there. Then you have Creamery Road, which sits at an angle. There's a building that is kind of in the site triangle. There's a lot of components there. I mean, has a deeper discussion ever been had there?
It hasn't, since that actually came about in 2018 as the last component we found with permitting. I don't want to misspeak, but I believe the developer further down on Spring Creek improved that entire corridor, including the traffic light at Mertztown Road, and then the widening of the turning lanes at 100 and Spring Creek. So that was more of a recent PennDOT permitting for their area. And that is a state roadway, so I don't know if they've looked at it. I know we haven't as a staff, since it's been so recent.
So you're saying that the neighborhood that enters at Heritage Drive, that's when those improvements happen? Because that neighborhood, I think, is older.
No, not that component. So everything from the east of Heritage Drive, so those turn lane configurations, the gore marks from that section, not the westernly from Heritage towards the park, all of that was part of that reconfiguration. So
Got it. Maybe it's something that's worth having on our radar. I mean, I think I've used the park many times for my boys playing sports there, and I find that that's one of the more challenging components to get out. And if we dumped onto Creamery Road and then had it more of a single intersection there, it would probably be better from a driving standpoint, but also from a pedestrian standpoint, just one less movement to look out for.
yeah, and I know that there was prior to my arrival, so it was fairly recent still, but prior to that, there was some alterations to the northerly component of Creamery, where that pork chop went in, that concrete elevated right out kind of a reconfiguration. So I know that had been looked at. We would just have to look at the rest of the.
I mean, I know these aren't simple, figure it out today type things, but it's probably worth something because there is so much activity there. And I can only imagine as we have the 400 homes that are going to be in that general vicinity, within a mile of that vicinity, we would see even more traffic there. So maybe something for future years or just keep in the back of our head.
Definitely, especially as we look at that overall park plan too.
Yes. Anyone else have any comments that they wanted to add? Questions, members of the public? All right, we'll move on to the next item, review of agreement with Infradept for IT services. Bruce?
Thank you. We are working through our revision for our agreement. It actually expired at the end of last year. Infradept is our current provider since about approximately 2020. We are happy with their service. They were a new contractor to us in 2020. We had our original initial agreement. Then we did a short 2-year agreement, and now we're looking to potentially do a little longer like our original agreement. They handle all of our networking systems and tasking. They're tasked with managing outside IT vendors that we work with. So We were looking at a 4-year term, approximately $8,200 a month, slightly up from our, 7,000 range. They also, I want to note that they also handle our voice over IP phone system as well. So that includes that component. We're working on just some language cleanups at the moment with the terms and the conditions that Mark's office has provided for me prior to being ready to bring this to the board. But I would recommend the board consider it for DAPT when we do it. And I think we're still in line with pricing and what we had, in our expectations. We didn't see a huge increase from our previous years, but we have added additional users and, build out a little bit of IT. So with that and our change of licensure and some of the products we have now with some of the Microsoft 360 government licensure, we've noticed a little bit of increase on that side of it. So I think we're in line with where we should be and kind of would recommend staying with them and moving forward.
Just one question. Under the carrier services, it says there's a 5,000 minute bundle. Is that for cell phones?
That's for actual voice over IP.
Okay.
So we did an analysis on there. We haven't been running over and faced, additional charges. So just for the phones in these complexes, not cell.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else have any additional questions or comments? Yeah, I would think changing IT services would be a challenging process, so. All right, next item, update on the DCED multimodal grant application, which is due July 31st. Nate.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So similar to last year, we're applying to the multimodal grant program again this year through DCED for ADA retrofits at our intersections in some of our older neighborhoods to make sure they're fully compliant. This would include redoing the ramp and including the truncated domes and other features that make them maximally accessible for all the members of our community. This year, we were looking at Brookside Farms, Brandywine Village, Beaumont at Brookside, and Penns Meadow, all as the identified neighborhoods that would be considered for this grant round. With the help of the Township Engineer's Office, we've looked and we've seen that we have about 144 of these ramps that we would like to have redone and upgraded. And of those 144, we're still looking in the range of what we were roughly looking at last year at about $7,500 per ramp. So our rough grant request for this upcoming round that you will see in a resolution in July is going to be about 1.1 million, give or take. There's a 30% township match, but that will get us 144 ramps completely redone and fully compliant to meet new ADA standards. And obviously that helps in getting our residents out into our trail network and walking around in our community. So we did receive a grant last year for 52 ramps, and that is in process for those neighborhoods. So we're trying and hoping that this becomes an annual thing where we can get as many of these done as we can.
And I would note that with these grant agreements, we see a 2-year performance window for us to have these projects done. So the board, as Nathan identified, since we were successful in our first grant application, we would look to finalize things for the project in that first grant so that we can complete it in 2027. So we would be asking the board for the match for that component to complete the project in the budget that we're going to present to you. So to keep these projects going, knowing if we would be successful next year with the grant Nate's working on now for the $330,000 match, we would look at that in 28 and potentially if we have to spread the work out, 28 and 29 to then get the reimbursement over the budget. So financially, we're making sure, we're looking to budget this in the best way we can for the board. So we're also aware that there's these matches now floating out there that to get these projects done may impact what we present to the budget on other projects that might be on our radar. So, but we're managing that end of it.
And so the turnaround time is basically the first year we're budgeting it, second year we're doing the project, and that's our two-year window?
That's the way we've been trying to approach it, because they, like the release on that is also kind of potentially past budget time, so that we know if we're going to get the award or not. So we just kind of had that in last summer, then heard the award, and then we were kind of moving,
Cross our fingers just a little bit.
Yes.
And then, Nate, when you were explaining it, are these are, let's say, the ramps, they already exist, but they're designed to hit new code, or they don't exist, or is it a mix of all of them?
It's actually a mix of all of them, but the majority of what we see is existing ones that need upgrades.
Okay, so is it that they failed, or they're just not to current code?
We just want to make sure that they're as fully current and compliant as possible, which includes those, like I said, the truncated domes that are colored and have the texture for those who might need them, and that the slope is appropriate and whatnot. So, yep.
Is the 140, you said 144?
Yeah, 144 is what we have for the 4 neighborhoods. Yep.
Is that the total number in the township that are not compliant right now, or is that the number that we're going for?
So we have, in partnership with the Township Engineer's Office, we are doing rolling inspections within our neighborhoods to catalog these and then bring them forward and consider funding mechanisms to, upgrade them. So we've been lucky with the DCED multimodal grant. So it gets reported to us annually, and we have a working list. And each year, each grant round, we go in and we try and chip away at that list.
We know as we've identified infrastructure improvements and everything else throughout the township, as we are getting our hands around these items, this will probably be multiple years into the future. So this would be the first start of these kind of replacements.
Yep.
And the ones that are not in compliance, are we outside of the law, or do they, where does this fall legally to have them not compliant?
So they're historical non-compliance, so we're upgrading them. I don't think, you don't have an obligation to upgrade them now, but you are doing that to make them safer.
Okay.
So, if you want me to look into if there's any kind of time frame by which you have to do that, we can do that, but I don't know that off the top of my head, but I think
we're not at risk of being fined,
right.
I guess is my question. Okay.
No, we're being as proactive as we can with some of these neighborhoods where we can make it better for the residents. So,
Thank you.
And as we think about safety, right, we're fixing the intersections, but then we've got sidewalks that are older in some neighborhoods. I know some of the neighborhoods are pretty uneven when it comes to sidewalks. So if people are able to get through the intersection, but then they're on a sidewalk that has several inches of, elevation change, it probably wouldn't be safe for folks who are, maybe have mobility issues or vision issues.
Yeah, so we have a program for, since sidewalks, the rest of those components in front of residences are in the township right of way. The property owner is required to keep those per the township ordinance passable. The code office does go out and meet with residents and advise them when there are conditions that may be of issue out there, so that the property owner can then look to address them. Those in the street trees are our homeowner responsibility.
and from a future planning perspective, that's one of the reasons why we've really begun to examine with any new development that comes in, what type of street tree gets planted, where it gets planted. So in the future residents don't have to worry about that. The township doesn't have to worry about that as those trees mature. So
Great, thanks.
Great. Any other questions, comments, members of the public? All right, manager updates. It's on the agenda, I had to read it.
Those are basically the updates I have. I know between Doug and staff here, if you're looking for specific updates for any project or things that we're working on, I don't want to steal their thunder, but I can say that the East Texas Playground project will commence here in early July after the holiday. Public Works is there in the area now getting that site pad ready so that the contractor can come in and work through the installation.
Is the current playground going to stay active while the work is being done, or does it have to be closed off?
Yes, it's going to remain open.
It is staying open. The trees were actually trimmed later today, so it's staying open. And not to jump Bruce's, but the current location for the excavation is fenced off and safe and secure away from any kids who are playing in the current playground.
Thanks.
Yeah. So we're working on that project. We're also coordinating the West Coastville Tennis Court resurfacing and refencing project for this year. The contractor's there and mobilized. That started last week. That will continue. The lights for the softball field there on that facility are still in design. So we anticipate they would come through there fairly quickly and into permitting so that we can get them ordered and ready for install. The Smith Lane Bridge, the shop drawings should be completed by the vendor by the end of this week, potentially, for engineering review. We still are coordinating with the lone resident at the top and their access and other issues, but that should commence, I would think, late summer with about a month turnaround. We're still looking at other township bridges, including Ash and the Camp Olympic Bridge inside the park for our long-term capital improvement plan. That's important to kind of knock those items out. Our stormwater lining project, the contractor was mobilized to video pipes in various communities. With that pipe videoing, they will order the liners so that they have the right footage and approximate locations. That will take several weeks for them to receive those materials so that they can start on those components. Residents will see roadway improvement projects coming, so the street paving project in various neighborhoods. That pre-construction meeting has occurred with the street paver, looking, and I'll let Doug give some timeframes on when they're going to be in neighborhoods. After that, we have our second contractor for the other forms that we do for the road resurfacing, potentially in August. For completion there. The line painting has been done, which is a large project, and Public Works is coordinating the seal coating of various township-owned pathways, including in the area of Harvest Fields, and there was one other one that I miss off the top of my head here.
Spring Creek Park.
Yeah, so working through those various projects. I think we're in a good spot to have them completed by the end of the year and close things out for the budget part. I don't have anything else unless there's questions. I don't mean to steal staff's thunder. So.
No, great great manager update. So, department reports. Anne Marie, finance year-to-date report.
Thank you. So the report that was in the packet that went out to the commissioners, this is something that I'm trying to provide to the board, whether it's quarterly or when we're kind of in a busier time frame. So May just seemed appropriate. We don't have a lot going on January, February, March, April. We do slow down Public Works because all of our tax money comes May, June, July, and our EIT again kind of hits quarterly. So I just want to kind of walk the board through all of our different funds, how they're kind of funded, what our expenses are, and please ask me questions along the way. So the first fund's the general fund. The general fund, as you guys know, makes up most of our spending. So for the first 5 months to date, we've received 49% of the year's budget. 51% of it's the earned income has been received so far, and I'll get down to it, but the reimbursements you can see has a large percentage. We did receive a large dividend payment from our municipal risk management broker. So the first one's the real estate. Real estate money comes pretty heavily in June. So we did actually receive that payment So you guys will see that in the next report that comes out. The real estate transfer tax we get monthly, so about 45%. The earned income, about halfway there. Same with LST, our cable franchise, that's only one quarter we've received so far. Interest, rents and fines is our interest from the investments and from our rental properties. And state grants you see is only 7.4%. That's our state aid. We get that in the last quarter of the year. Same with our pension, and PERDA is a small amount. We should be getting that soon. So that number really climbs the third and fourth quarter of the year. Charges for services, I believe that one's going to be permitting. And then the next one, you guys see the community center, the park, and the pool. So that one's at 70%. That makes up our pool memberships, all of the programming, the camp, the playground camp, and then all the programs that run out throughout the year. Our streetlights go hand in hand with the real estate. They go out with your tax bill, so expect that to come up in June. And then, like I said, the reimbursements, that's all of our, anything if someone hits a pole and we submit to insurance, any traffic accidents, but that dividend is what drew that one pretty high. So that's the main section of the general fund revenue. The next page is just the pie chart that shows EIT is our largest contributor. Moving for expenses, very similar. The general government makes up, salaries with the tax collector, the commissioners, admin and facilities, the solicitor, the engineer, and IT. Safety, fire, emergency management is just that, our emergency management team, and permits, planning, and zoning follows behind that. You can see we're kind of 25%, 28%, which is pretty on spot. Highways and streets would be your public works, community center. The library, that's the real estate tax money that we collect for the library that we send back to them. We did just do one payment in June. So as we get real estate money, we send it out. The grants is for the, they're not companies, but who submits for the grants. So the lasers, the Meals on Wheels, I'm trying to think, we have like 10 of them. Those ones, I'm trying to think of a few. So they kind of come in quarterly, the garden club, so they kind of submit when they get expenses. Our insurances, we pay we pay them quarterly, yeah. Pension, I pay at the end of the year. The insurance, we pay monthly, workers' comp, FICA, Medicare, and then the transfers. The transfers make up to debt service and capital. And then you kind of see the breakdown. It's, we kind of share in the general fund by spending, whether it's transfers, general government right now, the pool, and highways, streets. Capital projects is next. You'll see real estate taxes and fund transfers are the main source of revenue for the capital projects fund. Tax bills were mailed on April 1st, and we got about 39% of that budget received so far. You'll also see that there's a $900,000 budget transfer from the general fund, as well as developer impact fees to pay for the projects. And interest, we do have some investment in 30, and then the transfers is the main part of that for 30. And then when you move into expenses, that's everything that comes, that you guys saw in the budget book in Fund 30, and then we just break it out by kind of a subsection of what they kind of fall into. The transfers out is for debt service, and then for the real estate tax collection, that is to pay for the tax collector. Open space fund, so that is our 0.15% open space. That is the primary source of revenue, with about 50% of it received up to May, as well as the interest earnings are related to the 2025 bond proceeds that we still have. The major expenses of the open space fund is debt service, which will actually occur next quarter. And the over budget that you'll see is for the interest. We originally had the plan that it was going to be capitalized, and that's not how the final bond, the debt book was processed. So we did pay the interest last year and this year. So most of it pays for the debt for right now for open space. Open space maintenance fund is, their revenue comes from open space. And this is to do certain projects, which includes Kratzer Farm, Campo Pump Track, and the pickleball seating. So those were the three projects that were approved for the 25-6 budget.
Can you just jump back to the last one? You had said that the bond was different than what was expected, and so the interest was different. Can you detail that a little bit more?
Yeah, we actually went, instead of doing capitalizing that interest over the term of the borrow, we kind of advanced that up and started making the payment right away. So that actually I don't want to say a year ahead, but that has a cost savings over the period. We had generally looked at spreading that and taking that lesser amount in case we had to do another finance component, but it worked out that we ended up just starting to pay that interest. So it is higher than what we anticipated on that side, but we're paying monies back now.
The long run, the benefit would be that we'll be paying less interest.
Yes, you've already started to make debt payments, so yeah, you're looking at that component, and you actually will be done like a year sooner on that one lend, I believe, on the 15-year, because you've already paid a year instead of kind of posting that out.
And will this be the only year that we are ahead? The rest of the payments will stay even, or will we continue?
That's correct. So you will, when you look at the debt book, I believe on the 15-year finance, you're actually going to be done a year sooner than the debt book says. Okay. But then those debts line up for each year of both of those bond issuances.
Okay, so it's not re-amortized each time. It's
correct.
Okay. Got it. Great. You can continue.
Okay. So the open space expenses were for those three projects. They're still pending. I believe the board just may have signed for Wescosville. So we'll see that spending in the next few months. For the liquid fuels revenue, this is all done by the liquid fuels allocation, which is set by PennDOT. It's off of how many roads and kind of how they do their kind of calculation for the allocation. So we had budgeted 947, which they give us roughly the third, fourth quarter of the year. They actually gave us 964,400 this year. And then there's interest on that checking account. So those are the main revenue, the only revenue sources for liquid fuels. And then for the expenditures, so far through May, we've incurred for salt and anti-skid materials. What you'll see in the next few months will be the road resurfacing and equipment that we have purchased. And those are very specific to how we have to purchase them as we go through the state liquid fuels audit. So we're very careful on how we do those spendings and keep track. The next ones are going to be those enterprise funds that Dale talked about, the solid waste. So solid waste revenues mainly from the charges to residential customers for the trash pickup. Through May, regular charges were 40% of the budget. And then as of May 2026, funds have not been received for the reimbursement for the 2025 leaf truck. So we're expecting to get that soon. So you'll see the rest of the state recycling grants is the 904 recycling grant. We have not received 2023, but we're hopeful this year. So you'll see we've gotten about 40% of our charges for revenue, and then carts, load fees, and we don't have yard waste permits, but the carts is if people want to pay for extra carts. They go through that line. So we're about 39% of our revenue for solid waste. And then the expenses, so we've already made 6 $408, $500 payments to waste management through May, which is about 40% of our budget. I think we get those almost monthly. And as we go through, you'll see financial secretary admin, those are the salaries for all the work that, staff does in the solid waste. Legal, engineering services, the yard waste recycling, those are the salaries of the public works that work in the solid waste. The contract that we have with waste management, and then for pension, disability, health insurance, workers' comp, FICA, Medicare insurance, we just have a percentage that we have solid waste and sewer pay into that. So the general fund's not picking up all of it for employees that work in those departments. So we're almost about halfway through in our expenses. And you'll see the contract is the biggest one. And then finally, we have the sewer fund. So that's, again, mostly entirely of billings to sewer customers, both residential and commercial. We're about 41% for the charges. And then the allocations and permits and certs are the, when people buy the allocations from us, and the certs is when they like sell a property and we have to do a cert for them. And of course, we have the interest earnings, which we do have investments for the sewer fund. But most of that revenue comes from the sewer charges that we collect. And the expenses are built very similarly to 04. So the finance team, the secretary who make up part of the sewer, the legal, the engineering, the wastewater expenses, that actually includes repairs, trainings, and salaries. And then the transportation and treatment is the LCA bills. You see about 28%. And same thing, pension, insurance, other benefits, all. We just have a kind of a percentage that 08 takes into account. And then the capital projects is the I&I that will be starting soon, and I'll let Doug talk on that. So we know that 08 will have some expenses coming very shortly. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Yeah, so I guess back to the Parks and Rec question. So I don't know what our strategy is, but when it comes to like the classes or things like that that are being offered, is our expectation that, you know, the fees that are received from people who sign up, that covers the instructor plus something? Or I guess, like, what's our expectation on that?
I don't want to speak for Park and Rec because I don't always get to see, you know, if they sign on a new instructor, sometimes they might tell us where they want to be. We don't have a set percentage, like, oh, it's a 50-50 split or it's a 70-30 split. Like my last municipality was a 70-30 split. So I don't want to speak for them, and maybe if Bruce wants to jump in, but I think that would be the goal, is to at least cover, you know, we get something for giving them our space, electricity, and then they obviously have to make their living as well.
Yeah, I guess that was, I guess I expected us to, I mean, cover the expenses plus, you know, cover the fee, you know, whatever we're paying them plus at least a little bit maybe?
Yeah, I typically see when they give us their check request, it's about a 46 split. Okay. Where I think we're the 54. So that's the most of the ones that I see come through when we pay the instructor.
And then do we have that like broken down anywhere? Because it seems we have a lot of expenses in the Parks and Rec, but is there a place where we can kind of see, maybe break out the classes or something else to kind of understand where we're at with that?
Yeah, in their, I can ask Park and Rec. It's in their program. It's not in our financial software because it goes as a whole. So the money comes in, we just see it says global payments because that's how they pay.
Okay.
So I can definitely have Park and Rec put something together.
Okay, that'd be great. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think, you know, it's always important to note a lot of the recreation components when you look to our things where the township, I feel, we accommodate, you know, our groups and our organizations, as we've had a discussion with the board sometimes where that's a potential area where the township is expending resources to support them, or we don't see anything. And I would give you an example, two examples. One, you know, we have significant staffing and building expenses for the community center. We provide numerous rental times and availabilities to youth associations, which pay minimal rent when we hit a threshold, you know, or areas where we could be really out on those areas having tournaments or raising dollars, but it has kind of been the position that, you know, those youth organizations are able to use those areas, you know. And I would say with the pool as well, you know, we have a group that engages and uses our pool complex as their home swim component. It requires the township to have the pool closed on nights that they have swim meets and the snack bar closed when we could be generating revenue. You know, we also provide a generous, multi-$1,000 grant to that organization. So we look and we're losing money on those opportunities. I think as you see some of the programming, as we, and I don't, like Ms. Dobson, I don't want to steal the thunder of the recreation department, but certain things like, our all-day kids camp that has generated those revenues in that program to allow us to do other things as well. So we're right-sizing the opportunities there. But I think it's important to note, just like that solid waste fund, there are things here where the township has been very supportive of other groups, and at some point it might have to be that the township needs to be supportive of itself going forward to make sure we're in the right place for our business operation, if that makes sense.
I mean, I think we offer really great programs, and it's great to have the spaces, for the community. I mean, I use them myself, but I think there is a component that we do need to make sure we're in a good financial spot. So, okay, thanks.
I have a question. For sewer revenue, sorry if I didn't see this in here. Do you know approximately the breakdown between residential and commercial revenue?
Not off the top of my head, but I can get that for you.
I'm just curious.
Yeah, unfortunately, no.
No worries.
Okay.
Anyone else have any other comments or questions? All right. Any other department reports?
I have one quick thing. Some things that Bruce didn't mention in the public works part. Our municipal bid auction starts this Wednesday. It's auction one of 3 we're going to have, as well as some small little projects. Shepherd Hills Park, we replaced the roof there, as well as our hot mix program was going to start in mid-July. And our not line painting, our pavement marking, that's the arrows, the gores, the hashes and stuff on all the roadways. That program is going to be starting July 6th. And I did get an update from the railroad today. The only thing they can tell me is Route 100 will close July 11th and July 12th to do that section in Macungie Borough. They did not give me the dates of Gaiman and Schoenig. So hopefully I'll get them sooner than later, but that's the only thing they can give me, confirm.
Are we assuming they're going in order?
Yes, they should be going. Yeah, I mean, it all depends that's all she gave me today, so.
Are they working, is it going to be Macungie Borough first?
Yeah.
And then,
Yeah.
from Albertus out, okay. No, from.
Allentown coming this way.
Got it, okay. So it'll be after July 12th? Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming that's all she gave me today.
That's something, thanks.
So that's all I have, unless there's any questions about Public Works.
And just for clarification on that project, is it it's a rail replacement or is it a fiber? It's what?
We're replacing, taking the old rails out, put new rails in, then they'll re-asphalt and then keep on going down the road.
Great.
And are they doing both sets of tracks? Because when they laid those extra pieces, it looked like they only did one side, but.
I think they're just doing one track.
Okay.
That's what it looks like to me.
That's what it looked like, so thanks.
It'll be a monorail.
That's all I have.
Little humor, All right. Any other comments, questions, any other department reports?
I do have one report.
Hey, all right.
So the township, there was a web design team that was put together when we went with Civic Rec for our current website. Back in 2020, we actually were allowed an upgrade to pretty it up, basically, for free. So we're in the process of doing that right now. There's somebody from every department that's on there. We just wanted to mention it because it's possible that it could actually launch before the end of July.
Oh, wow.
So everybody will have it out there for everybody to check it out, and we're really happy with the way it's turning out. And with that, we also get a little bit of a redesign with our Civic Rec program as well.
Terrific. That's great news. Final item on the agenda, comments from the public on agenda items. Hearing none. We will close the June 22nd meeting at 7:05.